So welcome again to our Humminbird Hub. Today we have, here we've got Alex, Roseman, and me, Julia Fetisova, and we've got Chris Christofi here. Hi. How are you doing all the way in Australia?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
It's such a pleasure. Well, Chris is a serial entrepreneur. He's an international speaker, wealth coach, philanthropist, and a property investor. Would you like to just fill in about yourself?
Well, my journey started when I was 19. I started working in the property industry. My father, I was the youngest of four, and my father gave all of my siblings a deposit to buy a house when they were married. I said, I'm never going to get married the way I'm going. Can I have the money early? He said, what do you want it for, son? I said, I want to buy a car. He goes, no, you must find a piece of real estate. I said, okay. So I started working in the real estate industry when I was 19. I bought my first property. It was $183,900, which I sold 6 years later for $328. So I made 480% return on that. So I just kept buying more property at the age of 19. So by the age of 24, I bought 8 houses. Things were going good. I was making good money. The company I was working for went into receivership. I lost everything. I had a son who became deaf. He got bacterial meningitis.
Oh, wow.
So all of this happened in 6 months. So I lost all my wealth. I dropped all my assets, my car. I had to move back into my parents' house. And I started Reventon, which is the business you know today, with $348,000 worth of debt. So when I launched my business, I was back at home with mum. My son just lost his hearing. I lost everything. I was $348,000 in debt. But I knew that I could get back into the property market and teach Australians how to become investors. So fast forward 15 years. So the 21st of this month was my 15-year anniversary, which my goal was to fully integrate all the services. So now we do residential lending. Last year we settled 200 million. The year before we did the same. We do financial planning, accounting, property management, and property. So I wanted to integrate all the services to be able to give that advice to Australian families to put them in a better position when they retire. So now we've been fortunate enough to help over 3,000 Australians. Last week also, I released the book about two weeks ago called Your Path to Wealth Brick by Brick, which is an Amazon bestseller now as well. And that started a charity which I'm involved in, which we'll talk probably a little bit about later. So my journey started when I was 19. I got into my business at 25, and fast forward 15 years later, here we are.
Can I say, I'm really impressed with how you reinvented yourself from having it. I'd love to know where you were in your state of mind at that time, because other people who may be going through that right now would love to know, how did you pull yourself out of it and get yourself back on the saddle to go through it? But what were you like when you were going through it at that moment? What were the times like, and how did you make that shift?
That's a good question. I was 24, and I knew when I first got my job at 19, I knew at 25 I wanted to start a business regardless of the situation. So my first interview, I told the guy, I'll work for you for 5 years and then I want to start my own. I said that in my first interview. But when it all came tumbling down, I was in a terrible headspace. I was considering bankruptcy because, as I said, I moved back in, and I thought to myself, what sort of message would that be to my son if I throw the towel in and give up? I can't give up. I don't want to take the easy option. And maybe this is a lesson to shape me for what's ahead later. So the hardest thing was making that decision. When I moved back home from 19 to move out, to making $300,000 a year, to moving back into your mum's and losing it all was very humbling, but also it made me extra more determined to get back out there and do it again. How did I get back on the horse? I had no choice. I'm either going to concede defeat or go forward. And through every adversity, like with what we're going now, I think there's a lesson. You just need to look hard enough. So right now, learning to be still for a bit and be humble and to stay home with my family and to realize that things are more important than what I thought. So to answer your question, how did I get back on the horse? I found that I had no choice. So when I was considering bankruptcy, and I said to my sister-in-law, I feel defeated. She goes, you've never quit at anything you've done. You can't quit. I was never going to, but the thought did cross my mind because I thought, this is so hard.
Yeah.
And I thought, what am I going to say to my son? He was 1.5 years old, just lost his hearing when he's older, that his father quit or gave up. So I just, I found inspiration through the lessons that I learned and through looking at my son every day. And when my son didn't die, he became deaf. So my son's deaf now. So he was in hospital for 2.5 weeks. He got bacterial meningitis. So all of this happened in 6 to 12 months. So I drew inspiration from my son, really.
So this,
yep.
So it feels to me that it's like that love that you have for your child, that when you looked beyond yourself and you expanded beyond yourself, that it made the impact. It gave you that purpose to go further, right?
Yeah, and also with everything, I think everybody does something for a reason, but your passion is what you do for other people, but your purpose and your why is what you do to the deep core, which can make you keep going forward. So if you understand your why to why you're doing something, you can get up every single morning. Doesn't matter how the adversity. If you understand the purpose of your mission, like you do with Humminbird, and why you want to give this to other people, through tough times, it's easy.
Yeah.
Now, that's probably not right to say. It's easier to get up and say, I'm going to do this. So for me, the harder I get hit, the more I understand there's a lesson here. I understand I'm going to become better. So when I lost it all at 25, I thought the lesson is when I become a more accomplished business person or become more forward, I'm going to be ready to deal with those challenges, because the challenges just keep getting bigger and bigger, but your skill set gets bigger and bigger too. So I couldn't deal with the challenges I had now at 25. So through going through that with my son and through losing everything, it got me ready for what's happening now. So what's happening now, I don't see it as, it's going to pass. Together we'll all get through it. We're all going to go through a lot of tough times, but we're going to become better as a result of it. We're going to appreciate things different. We're going to learn to stay still for a bit. So working 15, 20 hours a day, we're going to think, we're going to reevaluate things that are important. So I look at my 4 kids. That's what's important to me. I look at my wife. That's what's important to me. Helping clients retire financially, that's what's important to me. So I understand now that I might have to realign my business and my focus, but my purpose is the same.
But what is financial freedom to you?
Do what you want, when you want, with who you want.
That was a very quick one. You clearly know exactly what.
But for me, it's, I always ask this question. I say to someone, if I was to write you a check, pick a number, any number, 1 million, 5 million, 1 billion, and you never had to work for the rest of your life, what would you do tomorrow? Now, for me, that answers a lot. I'll be back in this office. So for me, I love coming here. I love helping my clients. I love going home. I love seeing my kids. So I've put myself in that mindset that I'm grateful. So every morning when I wake up and I come to work, I have a certain routine I follow, which reminds me that I'm grateful, that I'm healthy. I look at a picture which I have on my desk. It's just across there, which I'll show you, which is my first office where I started with a debt of 348,000. I look at my family. I look at in 2008, which is another thing. When I wanted to scale this business, because I was only a one-man show. When I wanted to scale, everyone's going, don't scale now. It's the wrong time. It's the GFC. I thought it was the best time to scale, because if you can scale through adversity, imagine how far you're going to go. If you look at the last businesses, Uber, Slack, WhatsApp, they were formed in the last GFC because they saw an opportunity, they solved the problem. So for me, scaling in 2008, although it was crazy, I thought was the right thing to do. So when I expanded the business to what it is now, the first lot of funding I got in 2008. Before that, I was kind of like a 1 to 2 man show. It was just a small business paying off debt. So the first year or two, I didn't get much traction because I had to pay everybody back. So that's all I did for the first year or two.
Could you explain to people, if they don't know, what a JFC is?
Sorry?
You mentioned in the Times, is it JFC?
I know, GFC, Global Financial Crisis. Okay. Sorry, I don't know if I did say that, sorry. I've got a lot of, I'm actually finding dyslexic, got a lot of challenges, OCD, ADHD, I've got all these challenges. So I say a lot of things wrong, but yeah, always was never good at school. I was good at maths, but terrible at school.
Interesting.
It's funny how, we can go through school and, there's a difference between the education, obviously, we get at school, and then there's a self-education. I'm sure you've managed to make, they say, schoolwork is great to learn how to earn a paycheck, but self-development is how you learn to build wealth. And I'm sure you can relate to that in some way.
It teaches you how to get a job, not to be an entrepreneur. So at the age of 10, I was selling scratch tickets. I had my first job in Cyprus. My uncle used to give me 32 scratch tickets. On consignment, I'd sell 30 and 2 was my profit. By the age of 13, I was playing pool for money. So I'd be 13, 14, which was 26 years ago, and I'd have £300 in my pocket, which is $1,200 in today's dollars, for money I was earning. I didn't understand what was happening at school, but I could tell you at the age of 25, I wanted to run a business. I could tell you what I wanted to do. I had no idea how to do it, but I had a vision of what I wanted. And school just never resonated. I never read any books at school. When I left now, I do so much personal development now because I want to.
Yeah, I mean, I relate. And I think that's so important for people to hear this, that whatever their past story is about, I didn't do well at school and anything else. I didn't do great at school. I did terribly. But the real learning has been from self-education and using that with a vision. I mean, why do you think a vision is so important to you? For anyone else listening?
A vision's everything because it keeps you focused. It keeps you understanding what the big picture is. Right. And for me, self-development is everything. So whenever I see an opportunity, when I was young and I came from humble beginnings, when I saw the finer things in life, when I saw certain affluent people, I never was intimidated. I said, I belong there. I don't want to be there. I belong there. I know I need to be there. So last year I got the privilege of meeting Richard Branson. I got invited to his island, the Necker Island, and I spent 5 days with Richard Branson. And I was on that island and a part of me thought, I should be here. I belong here. And I was so honored to meet the man. I haven't played snooker with him, and snooker's a passion of mine. I have a snooker hall in Australia. So I played snooker in Cyprus for many years. So I have a few passions. Snooker and fighting was a couple when I did as a youngster. And the way I played snooker and fought, which was very attacking, is the way I attack business as well. So there's a lot of parallels in sport and business, I think.
Well, it's like how you do anything is how you do everything. So it's a very fundamental.
That's true.
So you didn't get a chance to hustle Richard Branson then on his island?
I played snooker with him, a couple of shots. I took photos of that because I kept it for my snooker room. Someone goes, "Did you meet him?" I go, "He can't play snooker," but he's an absolute gentleman, and what he's done. And he was one of the first people that actually puts his team before clients. He's got so many good visions, and I've always looked up to him. I've loved his books. I read both his books, and I just love finding people that are inspirational, that started from humble beginnings and built such a great future and helped so many people. He's got 90,000 employees across 500 companies, so it's pretty impressive.
It is. And you have your book that's come out recently.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell us what it's about?
It's called Your Path to Wealth Brick by Brick. So basically, it's exactly how we've done over $1 billion worth of sales in real estate, helped 3,000 clients, and it shows people exactly what to do to get into the property market, how to save money, the importance of having a plan, having a structure, having a team, because there's no such thing as a self-made anything, self-made millionaire, self-made. You have a team behind you. And I'm only here because of the people that I have around me, my team. I have unbelievable coaches, mentors. I've had people I've looked up to. I've read a ton of books. If people would think I'm crazy if they understand how much money I spend each year. I spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands each year on personal development. I do a lot of audio books. I do about 1 to 3 hours worth of learning a day just so I can learn different stuff and I can keep growing. And it excites me because the more you learn, the more you know you don't know. Exactly. And you understand more.
Yeah, I just did an interview yesterday saying the more I learn, the more I realize I know nothing. And it keeps
Socrates.
Yeah.
Socrates said that. All I know is nothing.
Yeah, well, thank you for seeing that in me. But it's exactly that point. And it does humble me to go, right, we're doing an online courses, we pick up new things, and we realize, and sometimes it confirms what we do know. Actually, I do know that, and it can give you the confidence, but there's so much more that we don't know, surely. There's so much out there. For anyone who has, I know that, that's going to hinder them, right? It's going to hinder their growth. And I'd love to know what is in your book that's special or unique, that's different from any other property book to help people get on their financial freedom.
I'll tell you, but just on your comment, I think you make an unbelievable point. The minute you think you know everything in business or anything, I always say you have a lifespan. You're going to expire very soon. The minute you say those words, I've always done it that way, I know what you're talking about, or this, you're going to expire. Yeah. So that's why I make sure to never say those words, because if you think you know it all, you're in big trouble. So the difference between my book, I've laid it out in the most basic term possible. But more importantly, before you get into real estate, understanding how much you need to not over leverage. Because when I was younger, I over leveraged, which put me in a precarious position. So when the market turned, or when I lost my job, I lost everything very quickly. So over leveraging was something that I guess resonated with me. But having the right team of people, how the most expensive advice you're going to get usually is the cheapest advice, which is free from someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Usually a family or friend member or someone who's never built wealth. What do you think about this? Do you think I should buy this investment? The wrong person to speak to. Someone that has a proven track record and can walk the talk and what they say. The difference between what we do, I live and breathe what I talk about real estate. It takes 10,000 hours to become a master or to become an expert in your field. By the Outliers, the book Malcolm Gladwell, who released in September 2008. I've researched that I've done over 100,000 hours in real estate. So to understand your field and to get the right advice is paramount. To get the right experts, to give you all the right information, to have the right broker, to not over leverage, to have the right accountant, to make sure you're getting the right tax breaks. It's a process and it's a skill set, which is one that you acquire over time. And even when I got into the property market, I was fearful taking that first step. The first step's always the hardest. And I always say to clients, let me ask you something. The first time you got behind the wheel of a car, were you freaking out? They go, yeah. Are you scared now? They go, no. I go, why? Because we've done it so often. I go, investing's the same. It's a fear of the unknown. It's having that knowledge. But if you didn't get behind the wheel the first time you got behind the car, would you enjoy the experience of driving now? I said, no. Investing's the same. Someone told me early on in my career, Chris, would you like to spend a lot more money than you earn? And I said, keep going. You need to learn to invest first. So the one golden rule is learn to invest your money, because money makes money and it works 24/7.
Yeah. The more money you can manage. No, is it? If you can manage your money, you'll have more money to manage. So until you know how to understand money and manage it, you can keep earning, but you can keep putting yourself in a precarious situations. And as you found yourself completely in it, losing it, but how you come out of it even stronger is
that is the incredible part. Actually, it's the fact that you have come back so much stronger, and you have learned from that. And this is something that, again, we come back to the subject of what the world is going through right now, and having to be faced with adversity and being in situations that they are not used to before. And we were speaking about this yesterday, how the new wealth has become the personal development. So
100%.
when people are now staying at home by themselves with their family and having to not know, we've never been in a situation like this before. I mean, I've never heard of a virus having taken over the whole planet and then people being on a lockdown. So now is the time when people actually go inside, and the resource and the reserve that you have acquired for believing in the self, from the books that you read, from being able to change your mindset, not the outside circumstances, but your inner state to dictate your reality, is going to be what's defining your future.
100%.
Anyways, yeah.
And going back to what you said, a book that I read earlier in my career, and I want to mention it, it's called The Richest Man in Babylon. And it teaches how to pay yourself first, which means how to invest your money and compound your wealth. And as they said to Albert Einstein, the eighth wonder of the world is understanding compounding, growth upon growth. So going back to your point, Julie, I've basically purchased 5 new books. And for me, through the biggest adversity, you'll gain your biggest strength. So I'm excited about the challenge ahead. Not knowing what's ahead means we're going to become a better version of ourselves. We're going to appreciate certain things. The only thing that I'm very mindful of, I know there's a lot of people that are going to be hurting financially. I hope everybody gets through it and remains positive. But if we pull together, we'll become smarter and better and more efficient. And lean on someone that has a positive attitude that can help you through it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't know the answers. I know things are uncertain. I know things are going to be tough. But you know what? I only focus on the things I can control, and I don't stress about anything outside. I make sure that I tackle things with a smile, because if you do that too, it always gets you in a better state. You're going to have to tackle things whether you smile or you don't. I choose to do it with a smile on my face. It always gives you in a better state of mind. And don't focus on things we can't control. It's uncertain times, but it's through this that we're going to get stronger and better as a nation and as a person. So whatever's to happen, I welcome it, and I hope everyone sees it the same way.
Well, you know, it's that the fear is going to cause more damage than any virus. And that's what really rattles everyone. And fear, was it false illusion appearing real? False evidence appearing real, right? And I notice from clients and people we speak to, you know, they're there because they don't know. It's the uncertainty, it's the unknown. And what can you do is best is to empower yourself by learning and actually going in these situations to see actually there is opportunity here. So would you say from your experience, amazing experience in property, would now be a good time to act or move? And if anyone's thinking about something now, what would you suggest?
Good question. The best time to buy real estate was 20 years ago. The best time is yesterday. On the proviso you can afford to keep it. So you don't plant a tree somewhere where you want to sit now. You planted 20 years ago. So with real estate, it's a long-term proposition. So when I say to clients, when's the right time to buy real estate? The answer is yesterday, no matter any conditions. Because this might go for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Property is a 7-10-year proposition. Two things are going to be 100% certain. We're still going to pay tax and we're still going to have a shortfall in retirement, which means we need to invest. Nothing's safer than bricks and mortar. And not only that, through any downturn in any market, when there's been over 100x billion wiped off the share market, people's confidence goes into real estate. And second to that, buyer sentiment is very negative because of all the media. I say to people, because media sensationalizes things, get your own information. Make sure you're getting the right source. Trust but verify that information, because media is going to terrify the crap out of everybody. Understand exactly what are you scared of, what's your position, how do you improve from that? Because times will turn and they'll turn for the better for those who understand it. But what it is doing to people is putting everybody in a frenzy. Everybody is freaking out. And why? You can't turn the media on without seeing something negative. COVID-19. And because our brain, the reticular activating system, sees what it filters. And it's programmed to see negative things. You can look at it, you can think of the most beautiful day, everything you can imagine, beautiful car, beautiful people walking, and you see a little kid on a skateboard fall off, hurt himself. What's the one thing you're going to remember in that day? The kid hurting himself. Because that's how our brain's trained, and our reticular activating system, our RAS they call it, is programmed to see that. I program my mind to see everything else. Because the negative media is what sells, not the positive media. I know I'm going to get out of this and I'm not going to come better at it. So that's kind of how I train my mind to think.
Yeah, because that's our responsibility. Because the media is doing what media does. They want to be noticed.
They're telling stories.
Yeah, they're based on sensationalism. I mean, I remember the days when breaking news was a big thing, like breaking news, you know, it was very rare, but now they do it every 4 minutes. Breaking news. So you're forced to go, they kind of force you to go under and hide. And it does feel like the more of that fear there is, obviously there is, you're not going to feel very empowered to make the best decisions, right? And it's our responsibility, you know, this is where self-development really matters, where reading books like yours is to re-empower yourself. I'm taking responsibility to shut off social media, shut off the news, and focus on myself, my family, reading the books, doing the courses, and reinvesting that, because that is ultimately going to give you the outcome you want for your future. If you keep watching the news, you're going to get the future of fear. That's all it ever does.
So true.
So if you,
Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, so you got 5 books you mentioned, suggested. What could people take away right now? Instead of watching the news and doing this, what books could they get, order it, or get on their Kindle? What would you suggest?
And I'm not saying not to be informed and to watch the news, but you remember one thing, life is happening at such a fast pace now because of the internet. So when we had the newspapers or the news, you're watching things maybe once a day. Now you cannot turn anything, whether it be social media, your phone, your computer, everything, bam, it's all coming super quick. So now what used to happen once a day or twice a day is happening 50 times a day, because everyone's got ADD and everyone's swallowing through things. It's negative. So the answer to your question, what books, one of the most recent books I read, which I loved a lot, was Principles by Ray Dalio. I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek, and he writes a book called Start With Your Why and Know Your Why. So obviously your passion turns to your purpose, turns to your why. Radical Candor is an amazing book by Kim Scott. It actually, helps you how to have upfront conversations with your team, how to build a good culture and stuff like that. Other books for personal development that I really liked, I mentioned The Richest Man in Babylon, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, classic.
There's so many, and autobiographies. I loved Losing My Virginity, Finding My Virginity by Richard Branson.
Oh yeah,
obviously
brilliant books as well. Yeah,
great books. So there's so many. I loved 4 Agreements, 5 Agreements because it talks about inner self and development. My wife does a lot of reading on Stoicism, which I like. I love philosophy, but if you're looking at personal development books, the ones I mentioned initially would probably be the where I'd start.
Fantastic. And just before we round off, I would like to bring back to the philanthropy part of your development, your charity. You have mentioned you did something with a property, if I'm not mistaken.
I did a few things, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we've helped 3,000 Australians, and my goal is to help 50,000 Australians retire financially secure. So I know 95% of Australians will not. So I want to move that needle. I might not be able to do it myself, but I can get other people, other companies to help. So collaborating together. And my other goal is to eradicate homelessness in my state and my country, because I don't think people should live under the poverty line, especially in such a privileged place like Australia or anywhere around the world for that matter. But I want to start with my backyard and go out there further. So I do a thing called the Vinny CEO Sleep Out with this Vinny St. Paul's. So 2 years ago, 2018, I did my first one. I raised $40,185. So I was the 3rd highest fundraiser in Victoria, and I was in the top 1%. The next year, they asked me to be the ambassador, which I said, of course. And the next year, I raised over 60,000. I donated 20,000 of that. And I was in the top 0.5% and the 2nd highest in Victoria, 330, and top 5% in the 1,643. So I was out of groceries with my wife and I said, you know what? We can do something different. I wonder what. And I thought, why don't we buy a block of land, build a house and donate the whole thing to charity? She goes, so I called up the lady from Vinny's. I go, I want to do this. She goes, it's a bit out there. I go, let's make it happen. So I've been going back and forth with legal teams. They've written up a contract. And I said, I'm going to pay, how are you going to pay the house off? I said, all my Vinny St. Paul's. I'm going to raise 80,000 this year, hopefully 100 next. And Reverend Tom will donate 75 cents to every dollar this year, $1 for every dollar next year. Every sale that my business generates, I'll donate $500. Everything, all the proceeds to my book, which I've now called Your Path to Wealth, Brick by Brick. The fundraising course is called Brick by Brick. Every proceed, every cent from the book will go towards that. And if there's anything left over of the 500,000, I'll sign a check and I'll pay it myself. So that's a 2.5-year project. And the vision is, that's my starting block. I have a bigger plan for that, but I'm going to keep that until I finish this. I like to do one thing at a time, but I already have my plan B and C after that, because I want this to be a much bigger thing than one house. So the charities that I represent, I also represent other charities like the White Ribbon, which recently closed down, unfortunately. Vic Deaf, because my son's deaf, but that's more of a personal charity. The homeless one, it's never affected me personally, but people go, why is it so close to your heart? I think compassion and kindness is very important for any entrepreneur, to pay it forward and to do good things. Because I feel if you're in a position, you're healthy, you should do those things. And I think money is a transfer of energy. So if you put good energy out, it comes back. And that's what I teach my kids. So the better things you put out, it always comes back. So for those of you that know me, and my cousin will tell you, I think I'm probably the luckiest human being on the planet, and everything I do, I'm blessed. And I think that's it. And I really am. With most things that I do, when I fall down, something will always happen. And I feel that's a result of either good energy or other things that I've been done. And I don't do that for that reason, but I feel you get what you put out. And I'm a strong believer in that. So it's brick by brick. Vinny St. Paul's is what I focus on every year. And I want my business to be a link to philanthropy, because I think it's important.
One last thing I just want to ask, what would you say is the most important and significant thing that you do every day that if you could impart on other people, you would say, take that away from it?
Being grateful. in the morning when I walked to the office, I went through a silly phase where I was getting up at 2:45 and coming here by 3. And now I get a little bit later because it was crazy, 15, 18 hours, and my wife thought I was crazy. I probably am, but I love it. It's not that this. And one thing that I did every morning was when I walked here, I would think of things that I'm grateful for. And it would usually go in the sequence of my wife, my 4 kids, my health, my business, my clients, and the people that I have around me. So when you have that frame of mind, and a lot of it was trained from Anthony Robbins, from books, a lot of things, you can't have negative thoughts in your mind when you're feeling grateful. When you're happy, you can't have anger. So I make sure to be surrounded in those thoughts. So how you start your day is very important to how the momentum is going to go and how you're going to build. So when I come into the office, I make sure to inspire my team, but also to be happy and to always show them they can always approach me and smile. So I've got a team of approximately 50. Well, we obviously, now it's things slightly changing with what's going on, but I want to make sure that they feel happy when they come to work. They're inspired and we're enjoying what we're doing, because when things like now the coronavirus is happening, but you have that frame of mind, it's a lot easier to deal with. When you have a place of anxiety and you're stressed all day, and then you've got to come into work and you don't enjoy what you're doing, you don't enjoy the people, imagine how bad that would be. So for me, I want to make sure that my team is not in that mindset. I want them to be happy, to be productive. And like Richard Branson says, he focuses on his team before his clients because they serve his clients. Mm-hmm. For me, my number one's client. But obviously, I love how Branson's flipped that on its head, because happy team, happy clients. But for me, I guess I'm not going to say greedy, but I like abundance. I want both. I want everything. So when they say, do you want option A, B, or C, I say D, I'll have all the above. That's usually how I pick everything. So when it comes to being grateful and starting my morning, being healthy and happy, a lot of people trade a lot of what we've got. And one of my friends once told me, worse things have happened to better people. So if something bad happens, I always say that to myself, and I wake up and I say, tomorrow's another day. I'll be a professional. I'll wake up. So, and everything, tomorrow's another day. It's another battle. So you're going to have more bad days than good when you're running a business or an entrepreneur. And when we mentioned before, the best thing to invest in, most entrepreneurs around the world will invest in a sequence of 3 things. The first thing they invest in, and I'm very much like that, I invest most of my money and time into myself. The second part, I invest into my businesses. The third, I invest in real estate or shares. But the first 2 are very consistent with most entrepreneurs. Good entrepreneurs that want to personally grow, most of their money they invest in themselves. You're never going to get a better return than you will in yourself. That doesn't only mean financial. That might mean mental well-being. That might mean being happy. That might mean a lot more than financial. You can measure happiness and success more than dollar terms, I guess.
Well, they say if you're successful but not fulfilled, that's the ultimate failure. So if you're not grateful for what you have, or what you appreciate. So you can see by your example that that's been happening in your life, which is beautiful. And if anyone wanted to jump in and get involved in the charities you're doing, how can they give? How can they support you on your next?
Well, they can contact me at chris@reventon.com.au. What I'll do is I'll send you some links that go directly to the charity. So none of this money goes to Reventon or Chris Christofi. It goes directly to Vinny St. Paul's, because I wanted it that way specifically. There'll be a link for my book as well. They're more than welcome to download that book, order it from Amazon. Obviously, I'm biased. It's a very good book. It's a very user-friendly, and it's got a lot of fun towards it as well. And it's kind of incorporated, saving your money, understanding what you need to get to, and getting the right advice. It encompasses that, plus getting into real estate and building your wealth. It encompasses all that. So I'll give you a copy of all the links and stuff like that. They can follow me on LinkedIn. I do a lot of things on LinkedIn. I'm starting to get into the social media world, which was something I never liked in the past, because I'm a private person and I don't like social media. And I didn't want to do charity front facing, because I like to do things under the radar. I don't like to do things for the wrong reasons. But one of my friends convinced me 3 years ago, you need to do this. Finish saying, I don't want to do it. But they convinced me to do it because I prefer to do things anonymously. But when I saw the impact that it had and how much more money I could raise, I understood the power of it. So I'll send you all my links, the answer to your question, and charities will all the links there, brick by brick. You can contact me direct on chris@reventon.com.au, and I'll give you all my details below as well.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for spreading your message, for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your expertise, for being so open to kind of like give those messages out to people to feel that they can benefit from that. So really thank you for that. Thank you for finding the time.
I'm absolutely welcome. And one thing I will say, the only reason I have learned a lot is because I've made so many mistakes. I'm a very flawed person. I've learned from them and I've taken them as lessons and I've practiced from them. That's the only reason I've learned so much. Is I've probably made more mistakes than anyone I know. I could probably write an encyclopedia on them, but I've taken them as lessons. So, and all the errors that I've made both at home and here. So I think that's why I continue to grow.
Well, because I think you take opportunities, right? That's what you do. You take opportunities and sometimes they're hit and miss, but they're always a learning curve.
You never fail, you learn. You learn or move forward. So for me, I welcome it. That's why in these times now, we have to realize that everyone's saying we've never come times like this. This is probably once in a lifetime for our race. Who knows for how long, at least in our lifetime. Everyone's scared, everyone's uncertain. We'll pull together and we'll all get through this and we'll become better.
That's what I believe, yeah.
We always find solutions. I mean, through the First or Second World War, the NHS was created. We will come out of this stronger. It's an awakening for sure. We're becoming more aware of everything that's happening around us. So, this is what we do. We find solutions, and it's your persistence. It's not, as you said, it's not about the talent or skills. It's just persevering, keep going. If you don't, the only failure is giving up. And you had your why, your child, you wanted him to see when he's older, to see what kind of father he has, so he can take that onto his life, obviously for your wife. So, it's finding your why and just persevering. So
I love that too. You're not talented, you're not skilled, but I'll tell you one thing. I'm obsessed and I'll never stop. As long as I'm breathing, I'm moving forward. And I say to someone, all you need to do is one thing. Put one step ahead every day, even if it's small. I'll get bigger and bigger, momentum will build. And talented, never talented. I was just willing to do whatever it took.
Yeah.
That's it.
You can never stop anyone who's got the effort, because someone else might have talent, but if they rely on that alone, whoever has the perseverance will far exceed anyone with that talent. For sure.
I'm a testament to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the gratitude part.
Yeah. So the gratitude part is in the mornings when I come to the office. It's only like a 2-3 minute walk. I live very close to my office and I always think of things that put me in a grateful mind. And I have a certain process that I follow. And the things that consume my mind are usually my wife, my kids, my health, which is probably the most important, because if you haven't got health, you've got nothing. I think of my business, my clients, and my team. And when I get to the office, I always look at a certain process. I look at this picture, which I have on my desk, which is my first office, which is my mother's house. When I started with $348,000 worth of debt in 2005, which was 15 years ago. And I remember a gentleman in 2008 who helped me. So in the midst of the GFC, the global financial crisis, I scaled my business. People go, how are we able to do that? I basically got an investor on board. And I asked him at the first meeting to give me $250,000. And to my surprise, he said yes. Now, he vetted me before I went. So he knew who I was, he knew where I worked, and he knew my ability. So I said to him, in 3 months, I'm going to generate you all these sales, and this is how I'm going to do it. I was a very small business, only 3 or 4 of us. I created in 3 months. I expanded my team. I wrote my book, as in my in-home book, my presentation. I went back out to the market. Now, for 2 to 3 years, he was funding me. And every morning, I remember it was the 10th of the 9th, 2008, at 3:23, the fax came through saying, I accept your proposal, when he actually gave me the money. He agreed on the date, but until he signed the fax and I got the money, that's how long ago it was a fax. It wasn't a done deal. So I never worked with him for 7 years after this. And I used to look at that document every day and read it. And I was grateful that Mick Irwin from Pivotal Homes backed me. So what I did in our 10-year anniversary, I called his office and I asked the girl at the front, I said, this is going to sound crazy, but I need you to do me a favor. She goes, who are you? I said, my name's Chris. Michael helped me, Mick Irwin, his name is, helped me 10 years ago. And I want to come up and say thank you. She goes, but you can't tell him I'm coming up. What does he like to drink? She said, rum. So on the 28th of September, 2018, I flew up and I said hello. And I took the 2 documents, the 2 sheets that I gave him and said, thank you. And he goes, I can't believe you're back. Why are you here? I said, because I read that every day and I'm grateful that you helped me. So the moral of my story and why I look at it and I feel grateful is along the path of anyone's success, I feel there's a lot of people that have helped you. Don't forget who they are. For me, he was humbled when he saw me 10 years from initially, 7 years I never worked with him, to see me back. But I remember why I got where I got, and it was through the help of a lot of people. So this gentleman specifically was the reason I was able to scale Mixed GFC. And the reason he backed me is because he vetted me. Because everything that I said in my previous job, I did. I delivered every time. So I had integrity and I had honesty. That's the reason he said, I'm going to give you. Because I thought, why did this guy say 250 yes on my first meeting? Because you knew who I was. He vetted me. When I worked at 2 previous companies, he goes, who's this guy? Is he the real deal and can he get sales? When they said yes, 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 that's why the meeting went well. Because when I look at my proposal, there's spelling mistakes in my business proposal. It was written terribly. I can't write now, I'm 40. I wrote this when I was 24. You can imagine how bad that was. So they're the things I'm grateful for, the people that believed in me and backed me. And the reason they believed in me is because what I said with conviction. I had my why. I knew what my why was. I was undeniably going to proceed. I was undeniably going to go forward. And someone said, you know what? I believe in this guy. So
what do you think made him believe in you?
2 things. Beside the fact he vetted me, the conviction in what I was saying.
So the certainty in what you were saying.
Yeah, because when you believe something strongly with every fiber of your being, it's very easy to convey that message. So if you don't believe in something, it's very, very hard to convince someone else. So for me, I knew one thing for sure. I was not going to fail. I might have failed, but I was going to fall forward. So for him to sign a check for that much money, he knew that A, I'm going to deliver, but B, if I don't, I'm going to pay up all my debts. One thing I've always done in business, if things have gone south, I've made sure to pay everybody and I've made sure to look after my clients and my team always. And in my industry and in any industry, everybody knows everybody. It's like 3 degrees of separation. If people want to know who you are, they're going to find out who you are. And how did I rebuild my career? Because everything that I said, I delivered. I was extremely hardworking and I was determined. So that's why this person backed me. Because when I left that meeting, I thought, did that guy say yes? He just met me for the first time. When I asked him in our future meetings, I said, Nick, I need to ask a question because I'm a very curious person by nature. It's important to ask why. And why did you back me? He goes, 2 reasons. I vetted you, Chris, and I believed what you said. So when I had the meeting, that meeting was really just to meet me. He was kind of decided he was proceeding with me. He just wanted to meet me face to face, obviously. But in his mind, he was 80% going to say yes to me. So yeah, I still look at it to today every morning. And I still have today on the 28th of the 9th, 2018, I wrote him a letter. I've got a photo outside his office of when it was our 10-year anniversary. And every day after our 3-year, when I stopped working, I said, in 10 years, I'm going to go back and say, thank you. This is what I've achieved. And it's because you helped me.
It's amazing. That is.
And he was taken back by that. And I won't forget what he did for me. Someone believed in me. And forget believing in you. To sign a check for $125 and to agree to $250,000, we're talking 12 years ago. That's a lot of money.
True, true.
And when I told him it was me and I was building the team up, he looked at me and laughed. Wow. I go, it was just me. That's why I said 3 months, because I had to build everything. I said, let's get the deal and then I'll build it at the back end, which is what I did.
That is really so special, because these are the moments that actually power you through. That when you, like what you're doing every single day, you're connecting with that belief, with that energy, and you're growing that.
And when you contact me and you said you both want to talk to me, I love that stuff, because if we can help 1 or 2 people, even inspire them, it's a compound effect.
Yeah. And
if you can do a little seed of kindness turns into something big.
Yeah.
You know, I went to a seminar. This intrigued me so much. You know, a bamboo stick, how long it takes to grow?
The bamboo tree, it's underground for a while before it comes out, right?
So you can water a bamboo tree every day for a year. Nothing happens. 2 years, nothing happens. It takes 5 years for it to go up, and it goes up really quick because it's building all the foundation. But most people will quit after month 3 or month 6. Nothing's happening, but everything's happening. It's happening underground. And like I say, and I say a lot, if you watch a building, all the foundation is where it takes time. And I say to people, build your foundation strong, you can go high. You can go a lot higher. So for me, I took a lot of time building my foundation in this business, and with everything I do, I spend a lot more time underground because I know that that's what's going to make something very strong. And I think now we might not be seeing any growth to what we're doing now, especially with what's going on around the world. We can build a solid foundation, because for me, a lot of companies that do what I do probably won't last the next 6 months. But the ones that do, that come out the other end, they've got a good foundation, are really going to be able to help and impact so many more people.
You're right there. Yeah.
And that's how I see it. Like when I saw that bamboo trick, and another thing the seminar told me, he goes, popcorn pops a different time. You might take 3 months, someone might take 6. But persistence is going to make sure that you do pop. It's just a matter of when.
You're saying about the foundation because a business is an extension of you, right? And that's why the self-development and dealing with this foundation, so you can put it into your business, is going to give it that stability it needs. It's a testing time. It's not generally the idea that fails. It's mostly people. So that's how important this work is. And it's great that you've offered these books. It allows people to not blame things on the outside, but take extreme ownership of everything, so they can take the learning from it and put it back into their life. If you blamed at 24, it's because of this, because of that, you would have missed the whole lesson, probably would have been cynical and would have given up. But it seems like you took it on as yourself when, you know what, it's not about blaming. I need to start building again.
It's true. And I don't want to be bitter. I say this to my whole team. Never do this, do this. You can change yourself. I can't change externally, but I can change internally. If you can't run your life, you can't run a business. If you haven't got your own stuff in order, how can you run a successful business?
Okay.
If you don't have your own mind in order, if you can't lead with certainty and clarity and vision, how can you lead a team? It's going to be a reckless. And for me, for now, I know the best way to lead the team is to get me to the strongest being I can be. So now all I focus on, I say to my wife, all I want to focus on is having a good mindset to ensure that I can come out the other end to lead my guys. So when it's uncertain, I call them up and I go, guys, how are you feeling today? Is everything okay? Because I also, and Simon Sinek's very good with empathy when it comes to leadership. One of the best people I learned from is Simon Sinek, which is the book that I told you, Start With Your Why, Know Your Why. He talks a lot about leadership and he studies leadership. And that all starts with yourself. It starts with empathy. If someone's had bad 3 months and I go, why are your results down? And you'll start from that angle, or you go to someone, look, is everything okay at home? I've noticed in the last 3 months your results are down. And what's going on? And then you go from that angle. Not only will you get a better outcome from that person, but you're being empathetic to that person. And as a company, as a unit, you're going to gel a lot better. And that's a lot of these things I learned from listening to Simon Sinek and reading his books. And also, I always put myself in the same shoes. If you're the person getting spoken to, do you want to get hammered, or do you want someone to come from an empathetic angle to understand why your numbers are down and to help you? For me, I always know what I want. I want you to come back and understand what I'm saying and listen. If my results are down, why are they down? Not, hey, you got 1 more month or you're out. And I respond to that sort of treatment. When people say that to me, I bite my teeth and I go forward. But 80% of people might not. You might have a great team member that doesn't respond to that.
Yeah.
Like parenting 4 kids, they're all different. If I use the same method to all 4 of them, how can I get the same outcome?
Totally.
And that's something I struggle with too, being a parent of 4, having the patience and understanding. My kids are so different. I say to my wife, it's like they've got 8 different parents. It's so difficult. It's true. Like I look at my kids and I think they're so different. I go to them, are they the same parents? But it's understanding and it's frustrating, but it teaches you a lot.
Yeah, I think kids are the ones that teach us the most. They teach us patience, wisdom to get through the times. It's a constant learning, because what they usually do is actually mirror us, and they mirror parts of our personalities that sometimes we are on good terms with, sometimes we're not on such good terms with. So the ones that we struggle with more are probably the ones who reflect the parts of personalities we haven't accepted.
Well, it's like, yeah. Well, it's, if you're getting triggered by your children, there's obviously work to be done, right? And if you're getting treated by your children, you're not able to handle your children, how are you going to go to work and expect to handle a team and so forth and so forth?
Because everybody's just a child inside, really.
Everyone has their child.
They all just need love.
For me, I'm extremely serious when it comes to reducing outcomes. I take my clients, people entrust me with their retirement. I take that very seriously. But I'm a kid at heart, and I focus on having fun. But when it comes to results, there's no kidding around. But a good book, Four Agreements and 5 Agreements, which I'm going to read again, it's a good reflection book. And it's something that I want to get a lot better at, being a lot more patient with work and at home. I think I'm quite patient, but there's a lot more for me to go. That book really helped. It's a very good book for reflection, because the best thing that you can't change that, you can change this. And I always say to my team, if you start making excuses, I can't train you anymore, because I don't think like that. So in their missed reports, when they miss a client and they say, couldn't close this client for whatever reason, I couldn't get this deal, I said, at that point, I can't help you anymore, because I don't think the same way. If you say, I'm not sure what I did here, I never saw that this client was a procrastinator, or he makes decisions this way, I never read this situation, I can maybe help you, because
taking ownership. Yeah.
But if you think, no one could book this client, I can't help you, because I don't think that way.
Yeah, there's a limitation. It's getting in their way.
It's a limiting belief.
Yeah,
with yourself.
Pulling out the weeds. That's
and also the biggest weed to pull out yourself.
Yeah.
Living
in I hope that segue helped. Thanks again, guys, for everything. I hope you got something out of it.
Thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure connecting with you, and looking forward to bringing all of this out and reading your book.
Me too. And if you guys are in Australia, if not, I'm going to be in Cyprus next year, and we'll go out for something to eat. Okay?
Oh, that would be amazing. That would be amazing.
Definitely.
Looking
I
forward.
can't wait to meet you guys in person.